My name is Amy Hurst, 44 years old. Just 3 nights ago, at my sister's rehearsal dinner in front of 50 guests, my younger sister Caitlin raised a champagne glass, smiled sweetly, and said, "Let's be honest, Lily has always been the bastard child in this family. We've carried her shame for 17 years. Tonight, I refuse to carry it into my marriage." My mother stood up and clapped. My father toasted. The entire room murmured in agreement. I didn't scream. I didn't cry. I simply looked at my daughter, took her hand, and said, "We won't be attending." Then I walked out. What none of them knew, what they had all forgotten, was that my grandfather had left behind one single clause in the family trust. A clause they had signed every Christmas for 7 years without reading carefully. On Christmas night, I changed one detail. By morning, the same people who publicly called my daughter a bastard would be on their knees begging me to undo what I had done. If you're still with me, take a second to like the video and subscribe. Stories like this find the people who need them when you share them. I read every comment. Tell me where in the world you're listening from tonight. Now let me take you back to the email that started this. The message I should have seen coming but didn't, because hope is one of those quiet poisons you don't realize you've been drinking until the cup is empty. The email came on a Tuesday in mid-September, 3 weeks before the wedding. Subject line: Hearst Ashford Wedding, October 11, 2025. Guest list adjustment. From Bridget Sullivan, the wedding planner. 3 sentences. Per the bride's wishes, the ceremony will be adult formal. We kindly request that Lily, age 17, not attend. We appreciate your understanding. 2 months earlier, Caitlin had called Lily personally and asked her to read the Corinthians passage during the ceremony. My sister had said the words, "I can't imagine doing this without my niece up there with me." Lily had practiced the passage at our kitchen table for a week. She had ordered a navy dress from Macy's at the University Mall in Burlington for $89. I wrote back to Brigitte with a single sentence. Lily was personally invited by the bride to read in the ceremony. Please confirm directly with Caitlin. Brigitte's reply arrived 4 days later. After consultation with the bride and the groom's family, we are confirming that Lily will not be attending. We trust you'll respect the bride's wishes. I did not reply a third time. I closed my laptop and thought about how a wedding planner is sometimes just a translator hired to deliver a sentence the bride does not have the courage to say herself. That evening, I told Lily there had been a change. She set down her pencil very carefully. Did I do something wrong? No. Some adults are doing something wrong, you're not. She nodded. She finished the sparrow she was drawing. The next morning she came downstairs in the navy dress. She stood in front of the hallway mirror. Is it too dark for a wedding rehearsal? It's perfect. I went upstairs and opened the small wooden box on top of my dresser. Inside lay a pair of pearl earrings, small drop pearls in an antique platinum setting from around 1940. I had told Lily, when I gave them to her on her 13th birthday, that they were from her father's mother. I took them downstairs and put them in her hand. Wear these tomorrow? She didn't ask why. She put them on. We drove to Boston on Friday afternoon, October 10th, 3.5 hours down through White River Junction. At the valet stand outside the Lenox Hotel on Exeter Street, I saw Vivian Ashford, Trent's mother, cross the lobby in a cream silk coat. She looked at Lily for a long, measuring second and walked past us without a word. In the corner near the elevators, she leaned in toward my mother and whispered something. My mother nodded, grave and ceremonial, the way she nods when she has already decided to permit a thing. I had seen that look on women's faces my entire life. Tonight it would have a microphone. The grand ballroom of the Lenox seats around 80. Caitlin had filled it with 50. The centerpieces were white lilies. Diane had requested them at brunch in August to honor the spirit of purity. I had not realized at the time that she was telling me what she would later applaud. Trent and Caitlin sat at the head table with his parents, Vivian and Reginald Ashford. My mother, my father, my Aunt Helen, Lily and I were at the second table. Diane glanced at Lily's pearl earrings exactly once when we sat down. Something tightened across her mouth for half a second. Then it was gone. My father avoided Lily's eyes the way a man avoids the obituary of a person he never quite forgave. Trent gave Lily a small nod. Lily nodded back. At 7:35, Caitlin tapped her champagne flute with the back of her fork. The room turned. She rose. White cocktail dress. Hermès Rouge Diable lipstick. She took a small sip of champagne and smiled the slow, gentle, public-facing smile that had made her a senior PR director at 33. Trent and I want to share a moment of honesty with everyone here tonight. Trent's family raised him on the principle that the truth is the foundation of any good marriage. The Ashfords have stood for that principle for 3 generations. I want to honor that tonight. Vivian smiled and inclined her head. Reginald nodded. Trent placed his hand on Caitlin's lower back. Innocently, unaware. Beneath the table, I placed my hand on Lily's knee. She did not move. Caitlin lifted her glass. Let's be honest, she said, and she let the room lean in. Lily has always been the bastard child in this family. We've carried her shame for 17 years. Tonight, I refuse to carry it into my marriage. 2 seconds of silence, the interval during which 50 adults make a moral decision in unison. My mother stood up. She placed her right hand flat against the center of her chest, looked at Caitlin with the warm, proud composure of a woman watching her daughter perform at a recital, and slow clapped 4 times. Each clap distinct, each clap deliberate. My father lifted his glass without a word. A small toast in Caitlin's direction. The father who endorses. And then the room murmured in agreement. Not stunned silence. Not even open applause. Something worse. A low, satisfied ripple. About time. A soft clink of crystal touching crystal. That moved from table to table like a current. Vivian Ashford remained seated. She tilted her head once in calm approval. Trent, only Trent, went still. His hand left Caitlin's back without ceremony. His eyes went down to his plate, and they did not come back up. I looked at my daughter. Her knuckles were white around the stem of a champagne flute she had filled with water. The pearls caught the chandelier and held the light very gently, the way they had been doing on women in our family for more than 80 years. I stood. I did not push my chair back angrily. I simply rose, and I put down my hand toward Lily, and she took it. We won't be attending, I said. My voice was no louder than Caitlin's had been. Caitlin's smile froze, half-formed. My mother's hand fluttered. Amy, don't be dramatic. Sit down. I did not look at her. I walked, and Lily walked beside me, her hand in mine. The room watched us go. As I passed Caitlin's chair, she said it under her breath. Quiet. Perfectly aimed. I knew you'd make it about yourself. I did not stop. I said, just loudly enough for her to hear. You'll remember this evening differently in 72 hours. We reached the door. The ballroom closed behind us. Inside, I heard Caitlin attempt to recover. Anyway, let's enjoy our dinner. Her voice was not steady. In the lobby, I asked the concierge for our car. Lily put her water flute down on a side table beside us with deliberate care, as if she were setting down a small bird. Then she stood with her hands folded and waited. Brigitte Sullivan emerged from the ballroom and walked quickly toward us. Mrs. Hurst, I want you to know I tried. I raised my hand once. Don't. She stopped. She nodded. She went back through the doors. My phone vibrated. Voicemail. My mother. I let it play through the speaker, low. Amy, this is your mother. You're making a scene. Come back inside and apologize to Caitlin and the Ashfords. The Ashfords are important to this family. Think about Lily. Think about how this looks. I deleted it. Lily looked up at me. What did Grandma say? She's still on Caitlin's side. Don't worry about it. Lily looked back at the ballroom doors. From behind them came a low, controlled laugh and the sound of cutlery moving against porcelain. Life was continuing inside. For the first time that night, Lily's eyes shone. She did not cry. She said very softly, "Can we just go?" The valet brought the car. I drove out onto Boylston Street, past the Boston Public Garden where my sister had taken her engagement photographs. A light rain had begun. "Mom," she said after we crossed Storrow Drive, "when you said 72 hours to Caitlin, what did you mean?" "Nothing yet. Just don't ask me to explain it right now." She nodded once. She had learned, over 17 years, how to wait. Boston shrank behind us. I thought, very quietly, they have 10 weeks. Around 11:30, somewhere outside Greenfield, Lily shifted in her seat for the third time. She was not sleeping. Her sketchbook lay open on her lap. The page was blank. "You want to stop?" I asked. "There's a Denny's at the next exit." "No, just keep driving." A few miles passed. The rain had thinned to a fine mist that the wipers cleared in long, slow arcs. Lily turned in her seat. "Mom, can I ask you something?" "Yes." "Was my dad a bad person? Is that why they hate me?" I gripped the steering wheel for one full breath before I answered. The question had been waiting for 17 years and I had practiced the answer for 15 of them. "Your father was a good man. He died before he ever met you. He didn't choose to leave. He was 28. He loved books and old films. He would have loved you very much." She was quiet for a long time. "Then why do they pretend like he never existed?" "Because some people punish what they can't control. Your existence isn't something they chose. They've been resenting that for 17 years. None of it is about you. It always feels like it's about me." I put my hand over hers on the console. I had told her the truth I had been holding for her since she was old enough to be ready to know that a person can love you without ever having met you. The rest of the truth would come later, on her terms. A break opened in the clouds. A single star showed through. I thought of my grandfather, Walter Hearst, 83 years old, sitting on the porch of his lake house in the Adirondacks with 6-year-old Lily on his lap, pointing at a similar star. "That one is yours, kiddo, the brightest one," I said, in the place where I had been talking to him for the 5 years since he died. "Grandpa, I think it's time." We reached our driveway in Burlington at 1:50 in the morning. Lily walked up the steps in her navy dress and her pearl earrings and went up to her room without a word. I stood in the kitchen. On the table sat my laptop. I opened it. I scrolled to an email from Patricia Lowell, dated November 2020, the week after my grandfather's funeral. Subject line, "For when you're ready." I had never opened it. I did not open it that night either. "Soon," I said to the kitchen, to my grandfather, to no one. If you've ever sat in silence while someone you love was insulted by your own family, you know the kind of quiet I drove home in that night. If this story is hitting close, drop one word in the comments. Just the word that comes to mind when you remember your version of this. I read them all. And then, stay with me, because the part you came here for hasn't started yet. The story Lily has known her whole life is this. In 2007, when I was 26, I was working at an architecture firm in Boston. I met a journalist named Christopher Lane at a gallery opening in the South End. We dated for 4 months. I got pregnant in January of 2008. He was supportive at first. Then he was gone. He died in an accident in Pennsylvania a year later. That is the story she has heard at school, at family dinners, in pediatricians' offices, on every form she has ever filled out. I built him into a father out of a photograph and a name. The actual story begins in a different room, on a different January evening, with a different sister. My mother called me at 9 o'clock at night. Amy, I need you to come home. Caitlin is in trouble. Real trouble. Don't tell anyone. I drove from Boston to Wellesley that night. Caitlin was sitting on the green damask sofa in the living room, 16 years old. Her knees drawn up under her chin, holding a stuffed rabbit she had not touched since she was 8. She had been crying for a long time. She was almost 3 months pregnant. The father, my mother said in a quiet voice in the kitchen while Caitlin pretended not to listen, was a 27-year-old man named Vincent Calloway. He had been a guest at one of Diane's friends' summer parties at the lake house the previous July. He was married. He did not know. Caitlin had been 15 years old in July. She had turned 16 in February. The math was the kind of math you do not say out loud in any room in Massachusetts. My mother had a plan. Caitlin would go to Switzerland for 9 months to study French. The school did not exist. Caitlin would be at the lake house with my mother. The baby would be born quietly and adopted out to a Vermont family Diane had already made inquiries with. My father sat in his armchair and said nothing. He looked at the rug. In February, my grandfather summoned us all to the lake house. He told my mother to sit down. He told my father to sit down. The child stays in this family, he said. Amy will take it. I turned from the window. What? You're the strongest. You'll raise her right. I will protect you legally. Caitlin will go back to her life. No one outside this room will ever know. Grandpa, this is insane. I have a career. You'll have a career and a daughter. I'll see to it. Sit down, Amy. Hear me out. I sat down. Walter Hearst had only ever spoken to me with respect, and when he asked me to listen, I listened. He spoke for 40 minutes. He laid out a structure. A trust would be established in the future. The baby, he was the one who chose the name Lily that night, looking at my mother's white lilies on the dining table, would never be told. Caitlin would be returned to her own life with the chance to grow up. Some lies are easier than the alternatives, Amy, but every lie has a price. I want to make sure that when the bill comes, you have the means to pay it. I did not understand the last sentence that night. He did. He reached into his breast pocket and took out a small slip of paper, wrote something on it, folded it, and put it back. I would not see that slip again for 10 years. Lily was born at the lake house in April of 2008. A private nurse from Plattsburgh attended. My father was in Boston on business. I drove up 6 hours later. I walked into the upstairs north bedroom and the nurse handed me an infant in a white blanket. The infant opened her eyes. I cried for the first time as an adult that I did not stop myself from crying. Caitlin had turned her face to the wall. She had not held the baby. She did not lift her head when I came in. She did not say goodbye when I left. I drove Lily home to Burlington 6 weeks later in a borrowed car Walter had filled with a brand new car seat, a folded crib, 3 months of formula, and an envelope of cash with the words for emergencies in his handwriting. That first Christmas, Lily was 8 months old. Diane held her for 10 minutes and gave her back. Caitlin did not hold her at all. My father took his coffee out to the porch and stayed there until dessert. Walter held Lily for the entire evening. He rocked her in the old wooden chair by the fireplace. He looked up at me, with Lily asleep against his shoulder, and he said, "You're going to be just fine, little Lily. Grandpa's going to make sure of it." I did not know that night that he was already drafting what would become Section 9. In September of 2018, 10 years after Lily was born, 2 years before he died, Walter called me to Patricia Lowell's office in Albany. Patricia had been his attorney since 1984. Her office was on the 4th floor of a red brick building on State Street with a view of the Capitol. Walter was 83. He climbed the 4 flights without an elevator and refused to let me carry his briefcase. Patricia spread documents across her desk. "This is the Walter Hearst Trust, effective today." I read the cover page. Total corpus, $8.6 million. Real property. The lake house on Upper Saranac Lake, valued at $2.4 million. Cash and securities, $6.2 million. Trustee, Amy Hurst, with full discretion. Why me? Because you're the only one who hasn't lied to me about Lily. And because what I've put into this document will only work if the trustee is someone the family does not suspect of having a reason. Patricia turned the page to Section 9. Each beneficiary, my father, my mother, Caitlin, myself, was required to execute, on or before December 31st each year, an annual affirmation. The affirmation confirmed no material misrepresentation concerning the lineage, parentage, or legitimacy of any descendant of the grantor. Any beneficiary found by the trustee to have made such a misrepresentation could have all past and future distributions suspended, redirected, or permanently revoked. I looked at Patricia. And me? You're not misrepresenting anything, Amy. You are her legal mother. That is the documented truth. Your mother, your father, and your sister, however, have spent 10 years actively telling everyone, including the IRS, the school, the pediatrician, a version of events that is not true. They are the ones who will be exposed. He knew, I said. Grandpa knew this would matter someday. He designed this clause specifically because he predicted that one day Caitlin or your mother would use Lily as a weapon. He wanted you to have a way to stop them. Quietly, legally, and finally. Walter slid a sealed envelope across the desk, manila, sealed with red wax. Marked in his handwriting, for Amy. Open if you ever decide. If you ever choose to undo what we did in 2008, open this. Patricia will know what to do. I took it home that day and put it in a safety deposit box at Burlington Trust Bank. I did not open it for 5 years. Walter died in November of 2020 at 85 in a hospital room in Saranac Lake. After the funeral, Patricia pressed a duplicate of the envelope into my hand. He said you'd know when. He said, "Don't let them break her, Amy. She's the one." It took me 5 more years. I drove to the bank on a Wednesday in late October of 2025, 2 weeks after the rehearsal. I unlocked the box. I drove home. I sat at my kitchen table. I broke the wax. Inside was a handwritten letter from my grandfather, dated August 2020. My dear Amy, if you're reading this, the day I feared has come, or the day you finally got tired. Either way, I am proud of you. I wrote that clause for you. I built this trust for Lily. Don't second-guess yourself. Patricia knows what to do. Tell Lily, when she's ready, that her great-grandfather loved her more than he knew how to say. Grandpa. Beneath the letter was a 3-page document, already drafted in 2018 by Patricia, lacking only a date and my signature, trustee notice of material misrepresentation pursuant to Section 9. I texted Patricia 3 words. Section 9. Ready. Caitlin had been cruel to Lily for as long as Lily had been alive. Not loud cruelty, the slow cruelty of a woman who looks at a child and sees the version of her own life she did not choose. Christmas of 2014, Lily was 6. Walter had given her a vintage doll. Lily had cradled it on the rug. Caitlin, 22 then, walked past with a glass of cider and said, without looking down, "You'll lose it. You always lose things." Lily had begun to cry. Walter had set down his coffee. "That's enough, Caitlin. Apologize." Caitlin had walked out of the room. She had not apologized. That night, on the back porch, Walter had said to me, "She's not punishing Lily. She's punishing herself through Lily. Watch her." I had watched her for 17 years. Summer of 2019, Lily was 11. She had taken up portrait drawing. She drew Caitlin from memory, standing on the dock. I had picked up the sketchbook one morning and stopped at the page. The likeness was eerie, not in the face only, in the shape of the jaw, the line of the shoulders, the narrow space between the eyes. I had closed the sketchbook and put it back exactly where Lily had left it. From the upstairs balcony, Caitlin had been watching Lily draw. She had stood very still for 5 seconds. Then she had walked back inside. Thanksgiving of 2023, Lily was 15, working on a family tree project. She had asked Diane, "Grandma, why isn't my dad's family on this tree?" Caitlin had a glass of Pinot Noir. She lifted it. "Because your dad's family doesn't exist, Lily. Now stop digging." The room had gone still. Diane had tapped Caitlin's wrist. My father had stood up and gone to make coffee no one had asked for. Lily had set down her pencil. "Mom, I'm done with the homework. Can we leave tomorrow?" We had left tomorrow. I had heard her crying in our living room around 2 in the morning. The only time in 17 years I have heard her cry out loud. In the spring of 2025, Caitlin became engaged to Trent Ashford. Lily texted her aunt the next morning to congratulate her. Caitlin did not reply for 4 days. I knew Caitlin had read the message and decided not to respond. I knew that the engagement had not softened her. It had hardened her. The Ashfords were the last barrier she needed to clear in order to become the woman she had been planning to become since she walked out of the lake house in May of 2008 with my baby in the upstairs bedroom and her own face turned to the wall. What I did not know was how far she was willing to go. In mid-November, 4 weeks after the rehearsal, I decided to clean the attic. Walter had shipped 3 wooden crates to me in 2020 when he stopped going to the lake house every weekend. I had never unpacked them. Lily helped. The 4th crate, the smallest, contained Walter's old books, 2 framed photographs, and, wedged in the bottom corner, a Sony baby call monitor from around 2007. A microcassette still sat in the receiver slot. The cassette label, in Walter's handwriting, read simply, 04-08. Lily turned it over. "Mom, look at this. It's ancient. Was this mine?" "I'll listen later. Put it on the counter." She set it down. She did not ask anything else. That night, after she was asleep, I carried the cassette down to the basement, where Walter had once given me a tape player as a 13th birthday gift. I pressed play. The first 2 minutes were the soft sound of a newborn breathing. April 2008, 6 weeks before I brought Lily home. Then I heard my mother's voice, and my grandfather's. "She'll grow up not knowing. That's the best gift we can give her. Caitlin will not survive the shame, Walter. Amy is strong. Amy has nothing to lose. She can absorb this. Please. Please, Daddy, you have to convince Amy to take this baby." And what happens, Diane, when Caitlin grows up and decides she resents Amy for having what she gave up? Have you thought about that? She won't. Caitlin will forget. Children forget. Trust me. The tape ended. I sat very still in the basement. I held the cassette in my open palm and I understood for the first time what my grandfather had been doing in that lake house bedroom in April of 2008. He had not been monitoring the baby. He had been recording my mother, deliberately, so that one day when the lie began to wound the child he had promised to protect, the evidence would exist. He had handled the rest, just as he said he would. I went upstairs and emailed Patricia at 1 in the morning. Subject line, Section 9. Body. I found something Walter left. Can we meet next week? She replied within 9 minutes. I had a feeling he would. Come Tuesday. The next morning, the cassette was not where I had left it on the counter. It was on the coffee table in the living room, slightly off-center. Lily was already at school. I did not ask her. She did not say. 3 days later, she set her sketchbook open on the breakfast table, flipped to a fresh page, and went to school without comment. On the page were 2 women. One stood. One sat. They both faced an infant. The one who sat looked like Caitlin. The one who stood looked like me. I placed my hand flat against the sketch. My daughter had been seeing more than I had given her credit for. She had always known. She had just never had the proof. I made a promise in the kitchen to no one. I would tell her the whole truth after Christmas, when she was safe. I placed the cassette on Patricia's desk. She lifted it gently between two fingers, walked to a drawer behind her, and produced a small tape recorder with a clean playback head. She played it through twice without speaking. When the tape ended the second time, she sat down. He told me he had something. He wouldn't tell me what. Of course it was a tape. She opened a drawer and removed the pre-drafted Section 9 notice she had prepared in 2018. The only blank fields were the date, the names of the misrepresenting beneficiaries, and the signature line. I read it through twice. Will Caitlin understand what this means without me explaining it? Immediately. She is the only person in your family besides you and me who knows the misrepresentation. She'll know exactly what triggered Section 9 the moment she sees the words material misrepresentation about lineage. And Lily. She needs to know later, from you, in a controlled setting when she is 18. I would suggest my office. I'll be there if you want. April 12th, her 18th birthday. We'll come here. Patricia wrote it in her appointment book. When do you want the notice to take effect? Christmas night, December 26th, 12:01 a.m. And I want to send it myself. I want it to be my finger on the button. She nodded. That's how it should be. I'll prepare 3 signed PDF copies attached to a draft in your encrypted account. You hit send when you're ready. I'll receive a CC instantly as the legal record. And the residence rights for the lake house? 30 days from notice. Effective end of January. She printed a final clean copy. I signed. She signed as witness. She stamped it with her notary seal. The date read December 22nd, 2025. She gave me a USB drive in a small leather sleeve with an index card inside in her handwriting. Press send when you are ready. Call me 90 seconds after. I'll be at the Lake Placid Lodge, room 12, from December 24th through 27th. The moment you press send, call. I'll drive to the lake house at 6 in the morning with the certified packets. I drove home. I had been thinking for 17 years. In Burlington, Lily was making pasta. Long day? Yes, but productive. She set a plate in front of me. On the chair beside the table, her sketchbook lay open to a new drawing. The lake house seen from the dirt road. Yellow front door. Porch light on. Almost there, sweetheart, I said very quietly, after she turned her back to the stove. Almost there. My mother called me on December 10th. The first time we had spoken since the rehearsal. Sweetheart, Christmas, the lake house, the whole family. Let's heal. I let her fill the silence. Caitlin's marriage has been a lot. She and Trent are figuring things out. The Ashfords have been more demanding than we expected. Let's not let one bad evening define us. What about Lily? Of course Lily comes. She's family. I'll order her favorite cookies. My mother orders cookies the way other women send subpoenas. I told her we would be there on the 24th. Lily was at the kitchen doorway with a roll of navy wrapping paper for Aunt Helen's gift. Mom, why are we going, after what they did? There's something I need to do up there. Something quiet. I need you to trust me. After Christmas, things will look different, I promise. Will Caitlin be there? Yes. She did not say another word. She turned back to her wrapping. Between December 12th and the 18th, Caitlin sent me 6 text messages, each longer than the one before. The first apologized for using that word. The 6th asked if she and I could have a moment alone at the lake house so she could make this right. I did not reply. I forwarded each one to Patricia. She responded in 3 or 4 words. She's afraid of something. Don't engage. Don't refuse. Just show up. The night before we drove up, I made an Airbnb reservation in Lake Placid, a small cabin owned by Carol Whitmore, 15 minutes from the lake house. I did not tell Lily. I slid the confirmation into the passport pouch in the glove compartment. If we needed to leave, I would be able to leave. We arrived at the lake house at 4:30 on Christmas Eve. Walter had painted the front door yellow in 1972. The paint had thinned in places to bare wood. The porch light was not on. My mother opened the door. She hugged me briefly. She hugged Lily for longer than was comfortable. My beautiful niece. Lily allowed it without expression. My father stood in the hallway. He nodded once. Amy. Lily. Then he turned and walked toward the kitchen. I carried our suitcases up to the upstairs north bedroom. As I came back down, I detoured around the back of the house, climbed onto the porch and turned on the porch light. Yellow flooded down across the snowy yard. My mother appeared at the kitchen window. Amy, why did you turn that on? We don't use that anymore. I do. Caitlin and Trent arrived at 6:45. Cream cashmere sweater and a tight smile. Trent polite, deferential. He looked at Lily once when he came in. Lily looked back at him. Trent looked away. Dinner was roast lamb. My mother carved badly. Blood ran onto the platter. Caitlin tried to engage Lily about school. Lily answered in 3- and 4-word sentences. My father did not speak. Caitlin lifted her champagne flute halfway through the meal. She did not drink from it. Lily, I'm glad you came. Mom asked me to. After dessert, Lily went upstairs. Caitlin stepped out onto the back balcony. Trent and I were left alone in the kitchen. He set his wineglass on the counter. Amy, off the record. May I ask you something? Go ahead. At the rehearsal, you said 72 hours. What did you mean? I meant something I was not yet ready to do. I'm closer now. He held very still. My mother believes things about your daughter that I am not sure are true. I want to know what is true. You'll know what is true within 36 hours. I am sorry for what is coming for you, Trent. You did not cause it. He set down his wineglass with the same careful precision Lily had used in the lobby of the Lenox Hotel. He nodded. I appreciate the warning. He walked out of the kitchen. He placed one hand on his chest as he turned. He had guessed. He did not know. I went to bed at midnight. I was thirsty around 1:55. I walked down the upstairs hallway. As I passed Lily's bedroom door, the bedroom in which Caitlin had given birth to her 17 years and 8 months earlier, I saw the door was open by perhaps 2 inches. I stopped. Caitlin was sitting in the rocking chair beside Lily's bed. Lily was asleep. Caitlin's hand was over her own mouth. Her shoulders were shaking with a silence that I knew from my own throat. She did not touch Lily. She did not move closer to her. She just sat in the chair my grandfather had once rocked Lily in, and she wept into her own hand. She whispered 3 times, very quietly, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. I stood there for 30 seconds. Then I walked downstairs. I sat at the kitchen table until 4 a.m. I thought one sentence. She knows what tomorrow is. She does not know how I will do it, but she knows it is coming. Aunt Helen arrived at 9 on Christmas morning. She is 70 years old, my grandfather's much younger sister, and she has loved Lily with the kind of clean, unconditional love that Walter trained her to have. She brought a tin of cardamom shortbread that Walter had loved for 30 years. She hugged Lily for a long time. Lily smiled, the first real smile of the trip. Caitlin came down at 9:30. Her eyes were puffy. At 11 we exchanged gifts around the tree. My mother gave Lily a Tiffany silver chain in a small blue box. Welcome to womanhood, dear. Thank you, Grandma. Lily set it aside. I handed Lily a small box. Inside were her pearl earrings. She put them on immediately. These are yours? Always. Wear them tonight at dinner. My mother saw the earrings. Her face changed. She knew those pearls. They were not from Christopher Lane's mother. They were from Vincent Calloway's mother, who had died in 1998, whose jewelry had passed through 3 Vermont dealers before Walter tracked the earrings down in 2017 and quietly handed them to me with the words, "For Lily, when she is ready." My mother got up and walked to the kitchen. My father followed her. From the hallway I heard the word impossible and the words track them down. They did not come back for 10 minutes. Caitlin had not recognized the earrings, but she had seen Diane's face, and she understood that something was happening that was not on her script. Dinner was at 5. 8 chairs around the long oak table. The 9th chair at the foot was empty. My mother had set a place for Walter every Christmas since he died. It had become, that night, the chair of the witness. My mother attempted small talk. "How are your college applications, Lily?" "Cornell, RISD and Pratt. Architecture and fine arts." "How ambitious." Your mother set high expectations. My mother taught me to think for myself. Caitlin's champagne flute remained untouched. Lily looked at the empty chair at the foot of the table. She said, very softly, only to herself, "Grandpa would have liked Cornell." Trent set down his fork. He looked at Lily for the first time that evening. Really looked, with the focus of a man whose mother had told him a story he was beginning to doubt. My mother tried to change the subject. "The wedding photographs came out beautifully. I'll show them after dinner." "Mom," Caitlin said, "maybe not tonight." "Why ever not? They're family photographs." Lily set down her fork. She looked at my mother. "Grandma, do you ever think about why some people in this family are in the photos and others aren't?" 4 seconds passed. My mother opened her mouth and closed it again. "Lily dear, that is not an appropriate dinner." "It's a question, Grandma. You don't have to answer." Aunt Helen smiled very slightly into her napkin. My father looked down at his plate. Caitlin was no longer breathing. I did not lift my eyes from my own plate. I cut a small piece of lamb. I chewed. My daughter had just done in one sentence what I had spent 2 months building paperwork to do, and she had done it without raising her voice. My mother stood. "I need air." She walked out to the balcony. Caitlin followed. My father turned his head and looked at me, fully, for the first time in years. "You raised her well, Amy. Walter would be proud." I did not respond. I took another piece of lamb. At 11:30, I knocked on Lily's bedroom door. "We're leaving." She had already packed. We walked down the staircase at 11:45. My father was watching basketball in the den. He looked up. "Going for a drive?" "Yes." Caitlin appeared at the bottom of the stairs. "Where?" "Home." "Amy, please, tell me what's happening." "It already happened, Caitlin. Watch your email at midnight." I opened the yellow front door and we walked through it. The porch light was still on. I did not turn it off. The dashboard clock read 11:48. We reached Carol Whitmore's cabin at 11:55. Lily fell into bed within 90 seconds. She was asleep before I left her doorway. I sat at the kitchen table. I opened my laptop and my phone. I opened the encrypted draft Patricia had prepared. 3 PDFs attached. Subject line, Trustee Notice. Section 9, The Walter Hearst Trust, 11:59, 12:00. Christmas Day was officially over. 12:01. I placed my finger on the screen. The send icon glowed. I pressed it once. The phone confirmed delivery with a soft chime. 12 minutes north. In the upstairs hallway of my grandfather's lake house, 3 phones lit up in 3 dark rooms simultaneously. Caitlin had fallen asleep on the living room sofa with her phone face down on her chest. The vibration woke her. She sat up. She read 3 lines and stood and walked, barefoot, to my mother's bedroom door. "Mom, Mom, Mom, open the door." My mother opened the door. Caitlin handed her the phone. My mother sat on the edge of the bed and read in silence. My father woke. She passed him the phone. He read. He set it on the nightstand. "Section 9, he said. So she invoked it. Walter knew this day would come. "How did she know?" My mother said. "What evidence does she have?" "Diane, stop. You know exactly what she has." He stood, pulled on his bathrobe, and walked into the hallway. Trent was standing there. Trent had heard the conversation through the door. "What about 17 years ago?" Trent said. Silence. Caitlin, Trent said. What about 17 years ago? Trent, let's go upstairs, let me explain. My mother walked into the hallway. Her face had been wiped clean of every layer of composure she had worn for 40 years. You stupid girl, she screamed at Caitlin. You couldn't keep your mouth shut at the wedding. You had to call her a bastard in front of 50 people. You knew what could happen. You knew what your grandfather had written into that trust. 3 seconds passed. Trent looked at Caitlin. Caitlin, is Lily yours? Caitlin's knees gave out. She sat down on the hallway runner. She did not answer. My father spoke. His voice was calm and exhausted in the way of a man who has been waiting 17 years for permission to tell the truth out loud. She is Caitlin's, born when Caitlin was 16. Father was a man named Vincent Calloway. He died in 2014. Amy raised her. We told everyone the child was Amy's. It was Walter's only condition. That Amy would have the power to undo us if she ever chose. Tonight, she chose. Trent stood for 10 seconds. I am leaving this house. I am leaving this marriage. I will speak to my attorney in the morning. He walked downstairs. He took his coat. He took his keys. He walked to the front door. The yellow porch light was still on. He walked through the light and out into the dark. Caitlin ran after him. She stood on the porch screaming his name. Trent's car started. He drove away. In the cabin, my phone began to vibrate. The first email from Caitlin arrived at 12:18. Amy, please. The second at 12:21. What do you want? The third at 12:26. I'll do anything. The fourth at 12:31. Don't do this on Christmas, please. I did not reply. At 12:42, a single message from Trent arrived. Thank you for warning me. I won't forget this. I read his message. I put the phone face down on the kitchen table. I cried once. A single, sharp sob that surprised me. And then, I was finished. The cabin's overhead light burned yellow all the way through to dawn. At 5:30 in the morning, Patricia Lowell got into her car at the Lake Placid Lodge. She arrived at the lake house at 6 o'clock. My mother opened the door. Her eyes were red. Her cardigan was buttoned wrong. Patricia, please, tell Amy we need to talk. Diane, I am here as legal counsel for the Walter Hearst Trust. I am here to deliver the certified copies of the Section 9 notice and the supporting evidence. Patricia placed her craft folder on the coffee table. She opened it. 7 annual affirmations signed between 2018 and 2024. A transcript of the baby monitor recording. My grandfather's handwritten letter. The signed and notarized trustee notice. Distributions to Edward, Diane, and Caitlin are permanently revoked. Residence rights for this house terminate January 24th of 2026. You have 30 days to vacate. She stopped at the front door before she left. Walter loved you, Diane. He loved Edward. He just loved truth more. She closed the yellow door behind her. Caitlin left the lake house at 7 a.m. She took Trent's BMW, which he had left in the driveway. She drove south without telling anyone. At 7:30, my mother and father came down the stairs together. My father said, Diane, there is nothing to fix. My mother said, there is everything to fix. Get in the car. They left in the Volvo at 7:45. Aunt Helen stood at the yellow door and watched them go. She did not turn off the porch light. At 9:30, Caitlin pulled into our driveway in Burlington. She walked to the door. She rang the bell. I opened it. She stood in a blue cashmere cardigan and wrinkled jeans. Her makeup had streaked. Her hands were empty. Amy, please. I don't know how to start. Start with what you want. I want you to reverse it, the notice. I will do anything. I'll go to therapy. I'll apologize publicly. You called my daughter a bastard in front of 50 people, Caitlin. She is your biological daughter. And you called her that because the Ashfords were watching. Snow had begun. She had no coat. She was shaking. She sank down onto the step, both knees on the wood. Please, I did not invite her in. From the upstairs window of our house, Lily pulled aside the curtain and looked down. She saw Caitlin on her knees on the front step. Her face did not change. She had assembled the story over the long night before. She had known. In the way she had known how to draw a face she had never been told to draw. She let the curtain fall. She sat down at her desk and opened her sketchbook. She began to draw. I looked at Caitlin. "Stand up! You're not going to make this about a public scene on my front porch." She stood. "Then what do I do?" "You go home. You sign whatever papers Trent's attorney sends you. You don't contact Lily. You don't contact me. The trust is closed to you. The lake house is closed to you. The life you built on this lie is closed to you. You don't get to pretend anymore." "And Lily? Lily is mine. She has always been mine. You gave her up when you turned your face to the wall in April 2008. Don't try to take her back now that you've lost everything else." She did not answer. She walked to the BMW. She got into the driver's seat. She sat with her hands on the wheel and did not start the engine. She cried. At 10:30, the Volvo pulled in behind the BMW. My father got out first, in a camel cashmere coat unbuttoned, his hair gray and disheveled. My mother got out in a white cardigan stained with coffee. Her makeup was destroyed. Caitlin opened the BMW door. "She won't reverse it." "She will," my mother said. "Let me try." All three walked to the door. The bell rang. I did not open it. I spoke through the door. "Diane, Edward, Caitlin, go home. Amy, open the door. Please, we need to talk as a family. We stopped being a family 17 years ago. You and Caitlin made that decision. I just held the door closed." She lifted both her hands to her chest and pressed them together like a woman in church. She wept, openly, in the way women in our family had not wept publicly in 3 generations. "Amy, please, we made mistakes. We can fix this. Don't take the house from us. Don't take everything." My father stood 3 steps behind her with his hands in his coat pockets and his shoulders bent slightly forward. The posture of a man who knew, finally, that he had failed his father for 17 years. "Dad, I know you're standing out there. I want you to hear me. Grandpa gave me a way out. He gave it to me because he didn't trust you to do the right thing. He was right. Go home, and tell Mom to stop calling Aunt Helen." For 5 seconds, no one moved. My father lifted his eyes to the door. He nodded, even though he knew I could not see him. He touched my mother's shoulder. "Diane, we are done here. Let's go." At 11:15, the 3 of them got back into their cars and left Burlington. From upstairs, Lily closed her sketchbook. On the page was a quick study of 3 figures on a wooden porch beside a yellow light. Around 1 in the afternoon, my mother's phone rang on Interstate 87 north of Plattsburgh. Caller ID, Vivian Ashford. My mother fumbled the phone and put it on speaker by accident. My father heard the entire conversation. "Diane, Trent told us what happened. The Ashford family is severing all connection. The marriage will be annulled within 30 days. We expect a public statement to never mention our name in connection with this. If your daughter ever approaches Trent again, we will pursue legal action. Vivienne, please. Diane, you and I both know who Lily's mother is. I always wondered. Now I know. Don't call me again." The line clicked dead. My father drove for 2 more minutes in silence. Then, "You should have told Walter the truth in 2008, Diane. He gave you a chance. He gave all of us a chance. You took it from us." She did not answer. She wept against the passenger window. After 10 more minutes of silence, my father knew. He always knew. He just waited to see if I would be a man about it. I wasn't. Amy was. When they reached the exit for Saranac Lake, my mother spoke. "Take me home, Edward. Not the lake house. Take me to Wellesley." "Okay." Trent's attorney filed for annulment on January 8 of 2026. The grounds were fraudulent inducement. The annulment was granted on February 14. Caitlin did not contest it. A small column appeared in the social section of the Boston Globe the next morning. Ashford Hurst wedding annulled. Hurst family declines to comment. I read it at my kitchen table. I folded the paper. Lily picked it up. She read the column. She folded the paper again with the same careful precision she had used to set down her water flute in the Lenox Hotel lobby 4 months earlier. She placed it on the table. Mom, coffee? Yes, please. She made the coffee. Outside, snow had begun to fall on Pine Street. Life was continuing. We were inside of it. If you're still here with us, it's because you felt something tonight. Maybe you've watched your own family choose silence over your safety. Maybe you've been the witness, like Lily. Maybe you've been the one who had to walk out of a room and not look back. Whatever brought you here. I want to know one thing in the comments. What is the boundary you stopped negotiating? Just one sentence. I'll read them all this week. And stay for the last chapter. It's the part that took my daughter 18 years to receive. On the morning of April 12, 2026, I woke Lily at 8. Her 18th birthday. The maple in our front yard had its first green tips. Happy birthday, sweetheart. Get dressed. We're driving to Albany today. She sat up. She rubbed her eyes. To see Patricia? Yes. She nodded. She did not need to ask anything else. She dressed in jeans and a green sweater. She put on her pearl earrings. She brought her sketchbook. In the car, on Route 7 south of Burlington, she turned to me as the sun came up across the western edge of the Adirondacks. Mom, before we go in there, are you going to tell me the whole story? Yes. Patricia is going to read you Grandpa's letter, the one he wrote when I was 37. Did you know he wrote it? I knew he wrote one for me. I did not know he wrote one for you. She looked out the window for a long time. Mom, I want you to know something. Whatever it says, you are my mother. You have been my mother since I knew the word. Whatever Grandpa wrote, I am not going to need it to know that. I did not answer. I put my hand over hers on the console between our seats. The sun climbed. At noon, Patricia met us at her office. She had a second sealed envelope on her desk. The wax had been kept intact for 6 years. The handwriting on the front read, in Walter's slightly tremoring script, for Lily, open on her 18th birthday. She broke the wax. She unfolded the letter. She read aloud. Dear Lily, by the time you read this, I will have been gone for many years. There is a truth your mother chose to hold for you until you were grown. That truth is that you were born to Caitlin and raised by Amy. Amy chose to be your mother. Caitlin chose not to be. Amy did not take you. She saved you. Your great-grandfather loved you from the moment you were born. I left a clause in our family trust to protect you if ever this family tried to harm you with the truth they had hidden. By the time you read this, I trust that clause has done its work. Be kind to your mother. Both of them, if you can. But you owe nothing to anyone who used the word bastard. That word is not yours. You are a Hurst. You are mine. I am proud of you. Grandpa. Lily placed her hand flat on the page. She was very still. A single tear fell onto the W in Walter. She did not wipe it away. After 30 seconds, she looked up. She looked at me. Mom, thank you for waiting until today to give me this. It was his timeline, not mine. She turned back to Patricia. Patricia, he says I am a Hurst. I want that in writing. From you, as Grandpa's attorney. Patricia smiled in the way she had smiled the day I signed Section 9 in 2018. Lily, that has been in writing since you were 6 weeks old. Your mother is the legal mother of record. You have the family name. The trust now holds your future. You are, and have always been a Hurst. Lily nodded. She stood. She walked around the desk and hugged Patricia. Patricia hugged her back the way Walter would have done. We drove back to Burlington that evening with the windows half open. Spring in the Champlain Valley smells like wet wood and new grass. Lily did not speak for the last 50 miles. When we pulled into the driveway, she said, "Mom, can we go to the lake house this summer?"